Brandon Mulrennan is always talking about doing cold calls to get real estate leads. As someone who's generated over 10,000 real estate leads for over 100 plus realtors over at my agency, I think it's one of the worst things that you can do to get qualified real estate leads at scale. Two keywords, qualified and at scale. However, I do think there's a better way to go about this process, which is exactly what I'll be explaining in this video. Now, before I get into any of the points, I want to make sure that this is extremely clear that this is not a hate video towards Brandon at all. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what he's doing over at his company. Now that that's cleared up, let's get right into the video. Now, you should always do your own research. The information in this video is coming from somebody who's ran Facebook ads or been in the online digital marketing space for the past 5 years. And I currently run a company called Lead Gen Pros, where we help real estate agents add multi-six figures in GCI to their business through paid advertising. If you want a free audit with me, by the way, click the link below and I'll personally audit your strategies for a 15-minute phone call. But here's a couple of realtors that we've helped do this over the past year alone. Now, here's the challenge with cold calling. Cold calling is something that I've done personally myself to grow my business, and I've also witnessed many realtors do this in their own business successfully. And it's actually one of the best ways to actually get your first few deals. However, the problem here is that it is not scalable, and it's a very low leverage task, and it takes a ton of time to maybe get a few qualified prospects, right? Now, with that in mind, firstly, in today's day and age, how many spam phone calls do you get, right? You probably get a ton yourself. So if you're putting yourself in your prospect's shoes to say, well, hey, how many homeowners am I going to call who are actually going to pick up? And those who do, how many are actually going to be interested, right? For most cold callers or most agents doing this, their pickup rates are sub 10 to 15%, right? So as a result of this, here's kind of what happens, right? Number one, cold call leads think you're a scammer because of all the scam calls that are out there these days. Number two, the pickup rates are typically really, really low. Number three, if you do get somebody who's actually interested, it's usually a very small percentage. Then beyond that, of those who are interested, how many are actually qualified and really serious? And then beyond that, the conversion rate, 1 to 5% of those who are actually qualified, right? So if you work those numbers down funnel all the way, let's see here, you're probably going to end up making anywhere from 500 to 1,000 cold calls to maybe get a single listing. Right? So does this work? Yeah, again, it might work, but when you're playing in the numbers game of doing 1,000 dials to get one listing, that's likely not the best usage of your time, right? It's a low leverage usage of your time because your output is directly tied to your input, which is how many dials that you're physically able to make in a day, right? And here's just a little bit of a nicer graph that kind of illustrates this, right? All the effort you have to do to get that one secured listing, right? And we actually helped a client out with this really recently here who was getting deals primarily from cold calling as his primary client acquisition method. And by us just switching him to paid ads, he already had a cold calling background. He already had a ton of experience calling and qualifying leads. So when we switched him over to running paid ads, it was a cakewalk because now instead of him going outbound, he was now dealing with qualifying prospects coming in to actually talk to him. Right, so that's been a game changer. But what I want to add as well is this client, once he started working with us, he actually got 4 transactions within his first 5 months. We added about 35K in GCI just for this one specific client, right? And we have a ton more clients just like this who've gotten similar results. So now you're probably thinking, hey, if I don't want to cold call to really grow and scale my business, what's the next best alternative? And it's not going to be referrals, not the billboards and signposts and not flyers or, doing mailers, all the traditional stuff that everybody else is doing. And I'm going to show you what it is to find your dream listings. So I'm going to walk you through what this process looks like. The majority of people these days spend a ton of time on their phones and on their computers. And the average American actually spends almost 7 hours doing that every single day, right? Whether it's on their phone, computer, iPad, TV, whatever it is. And this is on, a lot of it is on social media, right? Browsing Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Google. And that's where all your leads are going to be at. Now, a Hootsuite survey found that 46% of realtors get their highest quality leads from social media. And this is not going to be all those lousy Facebook posts that people make or they get from their brokerage and they say, hey, happy Thanksgiving or happy Halloween, list your house with me. That doesn't work. So if you're doing that, it's probably not the best usage of your time either. And where I'm not talking about running, cold DMs or cold outreach on social media either, because again, you're going to be playing the numbers game where you're doing a ton of outreach to get a very minimal return. So what you really need to be doing here, what I'd argue that you should consider, is running paid ads on social media. Now, when you run ads on social media, there's going to be a couple platforms that are better than others, right? I think oftentimes for a lot of realtors, they'll start with Meta, which is just the Facebook and Instagram ecosystem. You can do TikTok, you can do YouTube ads, you can do Google. And these are just some of the popular platforms that I see people running ads on and seeing success with. But certain platforms are going to be better than others, and I'll talk about that in a second here. But in terms of why social media, right? Here's a good way that you should kind of think about this process. So number one, the amount of impressions that you get are just tremendously higher. So instead of you manually cold calling one person and it takes you whatever 5-10 minutes per call, you can now affect or get your message out to 10 to 20,000 people with $500 to $1,000 in ad spend. So now you can film a message one time and have it broadcasted to tens of thousands of people. Say your click-through rate, you have 1,000 people who click on your ad, 30 to 50% are interested. Of those who are interested, 20 to 30% of leads are actually qualified. You're now speaking to 5 to 16 or 5 to 15% of qualified leads who actually may become a buyer or seller with you within a 12-month time frame. And that, my friends, is a much better return on your investment and a much better return on your time if you're trying to scale your business, right? Instead of doing the things that are directly tied to getting business like cold calling, there's only so many hours in a day. So wouldn't you rather have the ability to pay money, get your message broadcasted to people 24/7? I think it makes a little bit more sense. So you can answer that question for yourself. So just by that alone, this is 1,000,000% better than actually cold calling. And I can dive a lot deeper into what strategies are the best, but I actually did make another video breaking down what that process is. So either check it out in the description or check out my channel where I rank all of the different platforms from the worst to the very best. So do check that out and it'll give you some clarity on what platform you should focus on. Now, as a final closing remark, if you want us to do this for you to implement our proven know, like, and trust framework to increase your annual GCI by multi-six figures, you can click the link in the description to book, once again, a 100% free 15-minute strategy session with myself, where I will personally audit what you're doing today and let you know what the best strategy is for you so you can scale your GCI to multi-six figures as well. If you're not subscribed, be sure to do that as well, and I'll see you in the next one.